And Mandakini, please don't mute yourself during the session because
Okay.
you won't be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, understood.
All right. So Preeti, please go ahead.
Yeah, let's just wait till a little after 6. I think people are still joining, so let's just wait a bit. It's good to see the numbers rising a little bit. Say hello to everybody who's coming. Welcome everybody who's coming in to join this session. We are just waiting a little bit so that we begin exactly at 6 or maybe even a couple of minutes after 6. Thank you for joining us today. Good evening, everyone. It's 6 o'clock, and I think I'm going to just begin. Welcome, and what we are having now is the ongoing online Maja House Sial Winter Festival, and today is our 6th session. And today we are going to talk about poetry, specifically poetry written after wars or about wars and battles, or even anti-war, to promote peace and to show perhaps the futility of wars. And because it's a session on poetry, I've got one of my favorite poets up here today, and I thought that I would read that out to you first. I shouldn't let this opportunity go, so that at least I used to love W.B. Yeats when I was growing up, and I remembered that there was a poem that I quite liked. An Irishman foresees his death by W.B. Yeats. I know that I shall meet my fate somewhere among the clouds above. Those that I fight, I do not hate. Those that I guard, I do not love. My country is Kiltartan's cross. My countrymen, Kiltartan's poor. No likely end could bring them loss or leave them happier than before. Nor law nor duty bade me fight, nor public men nor cheering crowds. A lonely impulse of delight drove to this tumult in the clouds. I balanced all, brought all to mind. The years to come seemed a waste of breath, the years behind, in balance with this life, this death. So today, as we look and we wait to listen to some of the poetry that has come because of this particular emotion, I also remember that we also lost a precious member of our own family. My brother-in-law, my husband's older brother, died in the 71 war. He was 21. He was too young to go. He was too young to leave his family. And they mourned him every day of every year. And at Maja House also, we try and keep that memory alive and the house is still called Billu's house in his memory. Today we have Major General Hemant Kumar Singh, and he's got together a fantastic storehouse of such poems for us. He's a poet himself, and he's also been behind the creation of the Military Literature Festival. He belongs to the 72 Armored Regiment, and he's been working on remembrance, memorialization, commemoration, and war memorials in India. And he has a book in the offing on this very subject. He holds the Maharana Pratap Chair at the USI, and he was earlier director of Arunachal Martyrs Memorial Project. Introducing and moderating our session today is well-known filmmaker and journalist Mandakini Gehlot. She has a sensitive, beautiful film on the First World War called The Forgotten Army, and she lives in Delhi. Spanning this long arc of Indian war history from the Ramayana to the Galwan, we'll have General Singh take us on a long journey to discover the poetry that came out of all of this and how it reflected the mood of the nation. I don't want to say too much else. Let's get into the session, and I'd like to hand over now to Mandakini. Over to you, Mandakini.
Thank you so much, Preeti. Thank you for that beautiful poem. And thank you to all of you at Maja House for all the important work that you do. Now, thank you to everyone who's joining in on this rather cold Sunday evening for this conversation. They say that nothing warms the heart quite like poetry, and you will hear quite a bit of it over the next hour or so. Preeti's already introduced Major General Singh. I'd just like to add to that, starting with the fact that he has a rather long and storied career behind him. He joined the NDA in 1973, and by the time he retired 40 years later, in 2013, he was the head of the 50,000 strong Territorial Army and the Chief of Staff of a Strike Corps. He's participated in several wars and skirmishes, and he'll talk to you about that this evening. Now, in 2016, he was also the runner-up in the Global Design Competition for the National War Memorial of India, coming second out of 427 entries from all over the world. I know that this is a rather cherished achievement for him. As Preeti mentioned, his research, which if I'm not mistaken, is the first of its kind in India, focuses on remembrance, memorialization, commemoration, and war memorials in post-independence India. Now, he has a forthcoming book, and what he'll be talking to us about this evening is a chapter in this book on the poetry of remembrance. Now, Major General Singh came across Maja House during the course of his research into memorials, and he considers it one of the best and most creative forms of memorializing, in his own words, that is. So therefore, he's delighted to bring this important work on war and poetry to all of you at Maja House. Let's kick things off then. Major General H.K. Singh, I would like to start by asking you, how did you come to be so interested in poetry? Talk to us a little bit about that journey first.
Okay, I will take a minute before I come to your question. Firstly, my salute to all of you for joining for this very serious topic. You know, Lieutenant Swaranjit lost his life in Chham, where my regiment was also deployed, and side by side we were fighting Pakistan. But I want to begin the session today by paying a tribute to him, along with paying tribute to another young man, Nawang Kapadia, about whom I came to know through his website and various readings. And we lost him sometime around early 2000 in the valley. Both young men gone, precious lives. So I will be reading the poetry by Sheila Jayavant. They have a website, which must have been posted on the chat, which has got some very touching poetries. So Sheila says, talking about Nawang, I envy your passion with which you did your task, that work, that compassion which you felt when an injured mate fell. No shrinking, no fear, no hesitation, nor fault. You sensed danger, ordered cover, but did not halt. You must have been ecstatic in the knowledge that you had it in you, that latent, potent courage that none but you knew of till that moment. It was then or never. It was sufficient for you to have discovered that you had it in you. Without many millions, but a few have guts, but no buts. Duty has done, and so you did. Cost was irrelevant. My salute to Nawang. My also salute to Saranji, who did the same thing. He was at the airport at Jammu when the bells rang and the aircraft started pounding, and he ran with his motorcycle to join the duty across the Cham salient. And there he got deployed right in front at the Goda and Pagla range. So, just to break the monotony today, we'll be showing you some videos and talk on some issues, some stories, and a little bit of poetry and a connect. How does it impact the nation? Millions of poetry on wars have been written, millions actually. And where do you begin? Well, I am no poet. I am, say, what they say, an occasional poet. I have written 4 or 5 poems when the situation demanded or I had a time. I grew up in the times of war. You know, we were fresh from freedom. There were so many freedom songs. And my parents and everybody else would be busy reading Ramayana and Mahabharata and Gita. And then those wars took place and the blackouts were there and trains were coming and going. And my Mamaji was missing. And in between, some great songs came, you know, from Shaheed to Hakikat songs. And then it carried on. So when I was a Hindi medium student and there was such a great, collection of Hindi poems on Veer Ras. And they had so much of alankar and so much of rhyming. Without TV, without any comics or any visuals, you had to imagine that narration was so good and powerful that I still remember, you know, ऊंचे घोर बंदर के अंदर रहन वाली ऊंचे घोर बंदर के अंदर आती हैं, 3 बेर खाती थी वे 3 बेर खाती हैं. You know, when Shivaji would come, they would go and hide in the hills. You know, he had made the life miserable for everybody else, and the sense of new nationalism was coming up. But NDA and military rigors make you forget everything, including poetry and everything. But somewhere down the line in 1999, I was commanding my unit, I got deployed, waiting to attack, waiting to defend, side by side in the hills. Kargil war was on. It was a prolonged deployment. So one day I got fed up. I said, this person across the this thin line of border which should not exist, he's been troubling us for a long time. So I wrote down something. But time passed by and I retired. Then I took up this project of the War Memorial. So remembrance poetry is a big part of it. So I came across so many movements. I met so many war widows and so many people. I read so much. I had to read the poetry then. And then I connected certain things. So I wrote something later. So I'll share all that with you, apart from how the nations have actually, you know, connected. So I will read my first poem which I wrote. It is called Shami Mein Fleur de Lis. Flower of Lily was the formation sign of my brigade. It was called the Saber Brigade. फौजे बर्री की फौलाद है हम, ध्रुव तारे की फौकियत है हम, फौजे अजीम हासिल करके रहेंगे हम, फैसला तलब करने को हुआ है मन, फौत का है हमें नहीं गम. We were already deployed and we were waiting. फतूरे अकल को दुरुस्त कर ले है बद अकल, बंदा खुदा की अर्जी मान ले बद अमल, कश्मीर को बरगे खजा बनना न देंगे हम, चश्मे अशकवाद रह जाएगा तेरा दम, यूल कीप क्राइंग, बिस्मिल्लाह मंशाए पाक पूरा ना होने देंगे हम, बुरकाए शरारत को बेनकाब करके रहेंगे हम, बेनजीर है हमारे हौसले का दम, वाइट नाइट का बुलंद इकबाल है हम, बेमानी बेहासिल बेलाल है तेरी शंग्रेजी, यू आर अ किड, खेमकरण और शकरगढ़ को भूल गया है क्या तिफल मिजाजी, खुद मुख्तारी का तुझे होगा मलाल, शब्बे हिज्र और फ्लर्ट ली की शमीम का है जलाल, मुल्तवी कर दे तू अपना इरादा, उल्फत का हाथ बढ़ा दे बंदाए खुदा, ABCD. Basically, you are separated from your beloved and you have the sword of which your brigade commander has given, and the guy is troubling. So this was the young man who was talking about, he wants to go to war. But as I have grown, I've seen many other facets of the war which are very serious, and everybody knows that peace is the real important thing. So
that was beautiful. That was beautiful, Major General Singh. In our conversations over the last few days, what really struck me is I approached this conversation with a preconceived notion of what is war poetry. I thought of poetry that celebrates and glorifies war and sacrifice and, demands patriotism from us. But what you pointed out to me is that there's also anti-war poetry, which has to be seen as a part of the larger pantheon of war poetry. So it would be really great if you could talk to us a little bit about exactly what is war poetry.
Okay. War is a joke for me and you. While we know such dreams are true. That is what the great Sassoon said during the World War I. He was an anti-war poet. There's a romance and there's a reality. So that is where the war poetry lies. War has many facets, and each facet has a strong emotion, a strong message, a strong lesson, and a strong story. Thousands of emotions are there. It depends on what is driving the narrative and who is driving the narrative. Victory, defeat, death, destruction, disabled, bloodshed, courage, valor, daring, skill, esprit de corps, marching, valor, sacrifice, separation, fear, anticipation, morale, motivation, leadership, freedom, duty, and so on. So narration is very important, and what is the mood, that is what is very important, because poets and the film people pick it up and then they convey. They have that thing. Poets, lyricists, and singers have played a vital role in awakening the masses, uniting them or expressing the public feelings in a very artistic and creative manner. Each line which they write has a meaning. A good poetic song can give you goosebumps. It can motivate you to pick up a rifle. And anti-war poetry makes you look at the other side of the coin and makes you understand what peace and family and prosperity means. But war is violent. While it has a great deal of romance, as we saw when the Tennyson wrote Charge of the Light Brigade and blah, 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 and attached to it, and there are so many values which are attached to the soldier and the people who fight. But in the end, the reality is death, disability, trauma, scarring. Migration is a reality. But life has to move on, You have to find a closure. And so a lot of poetry is also devoted to closure. The scale matters. In India, we have 26,000 people who died in the various wars and conflicts in the last 70 years. But in one day, during 1962, 1,000 died. But in World War One, many millions died. The ratio of, it was almost 1:10. In India, ratio is 1:0.001. So that is where everybody got involved in war poetry after World War One, World War Two. But today, because the scale is so low, 95% of India may not really be into too much into the war poetry, but it matters. So in India, when the body bag comes or when there is a skirmish, then suddenly everybody will wake up and then they'll wait for a good, strong song to motivate you. So because the scale is low, we are more happy looking at the motivational war poetry, you know, something which can motivate, and not so much of anti-war poetry, while it happens to be there. And we just saw on 15th Army Day, Army itself promoted a song called Galwan Ke Sher. And it's quite a nice song sung by Kailash Kher. It really, you know, meant a lot. But that's where we see who's driving the narrative. But each season of war has its own tenor and its own story. So today we'll try to connect these stories and these moods along with the poetry. Now, there are two sides. One was the side of, Jessie Pope. She was the war poet working for the government. And the other side was Wilfred Owen and things like that. And they were, you know, clashing. And this great poem, Dulce, was written. In the end, she's also mentioned that you are motivating people to go to war and look what is happening on the other side. So that is what I think. That is where the balance lies. Thank you.
Major General H.K. Singh has selected a few clips for us, which we will play over the course of this evening. We're going to start by playing a clip called Wait, which is Sir Lawrence Olivier reciting a poem by Konstantin Simonov. Go ahead, Arvinder, you can play it now. Okay, we appear to be having a problem with that.
Not to worry. Actually, you know, weight is the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Russian poetry.
Tell us about it.
And the gentleman is telling his beloved, you kindly wait for me. Mm-hmm. And same thing happened later on in Border and everywhere. But it was one of the most moving poetry which Russians have written. So that is why I wanted to play. But the pleasure in reciting, and Sir Olivier, when he does it, you know, then we would like to listen. So we can listen to it in our due course. Okay.
We will share a link with everyone in the chat for this poem.
Jackie, you were not able to get it? I played it.
No, we couldn't hear it. I'm sorry, Arvinder. We could see.
Can you play Helen?
Yeah, of course.
Helen Mirren? You know, she recited.
You can.
Okay, by the time it comes, can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. Go ahead and tell us about the poem.
Okay. Okay. Let's listen to this one. Okay, it will take time to come in. Basically, there are three poems. One is the Wait we talked about. Mm-hmm. Okay, carry on. Is there a sound?
Arvinder, I'm afraid we cannot hear. We can see the video, but we cannot hear the clip. So.
Okay.
We heard it briefly and then we can't hear it again.
I don't know. There must be some.
Okay, you can skip it. I will just talk about it.
That's all right. Yeah. Sorry about that, sir. Please tell us a little bit about it.
It's okay. So, HR is postponed. You know, there were three clips we wanted to play. One is about the weight, and the second was about a recitation of In Flanders Field by Helen Mirren. Hundreds of people have recited this great poem, which was written by Lieutenant Colonel Macrae when his friend died. And basically, he was saying that, you know, friends who are alive, kindly pick up your rifles and fight your foe. While the poppies will keep growing here, but you must take the cudgels and get on with the enemy. So poppy is a flower which grows there in abundance. And that led to a thing called a poppy movement, which is an astonishing thing which happened. And the third song was written in 1976, but it belonged to 2016 era. The Green Fields of France, which was being played by Forez and Dignam, which is talking about, you know, many people die in the war and there is no proper funeral for them. And I wanted this song to be played because it happened to us in 1962. You know, there were so many missing in hundreds and thousands, and there was no funeral. So it is so very important. And India has not made effort. Even today, we can go and make an effort. So that is where the song was fitting in. Huh? Did they play the Flowers of the Forest? Did they play the Last Post? Did you get a proper funeral? You know, so, but that song on the poppy written by Lieutenant Colonel Macrae, it became a legend. And Madame Guerin from France, she launched a thing called poppy movement, and everybody started buying poppies and replacing them because hundreds and thousands were dying. So it became the flower of remembrance. And then in London, they opened a factory hiring the disabled veterans, and they were producing these artificial poppies. And then millions were sold because so many were dying. And then when World War I 100 commemoration took place, again the poppy movement was there. You must have seen those graphic pictures of red poppies. Till today, not less than 1,000 million pounds have been raised by this poem. That is the scale of creativity. So that is why I wanted this song to be played. So anyway, we move on to the poetry which happened till 1947, starting very early. From the mythological times, Ramayana and Mahabharata. We heard the whole Ramayana, but we only remember Lanka Kand. We were kids. That had the graphics, you know, so when you heard Hahakar Machakar Bandar Kood Pade Lanka ke andar, you could imagine, you know, that they have gone. Why have they gone? And there is a purpose, and there is a cause, and there is a motive, and there is a graphic. And 36 chapters in Ramayana. So great. Then Mahabharata Gita, again, 700 verses. So we moved on, and a lot of Indian literature is lost, and a lot of it has gone past through the verbal things. But let me begin the later area through Tamil Nadu. You know, there is an anthology of 400 poems by Hart, and there's so many other which are translated into English. And one thing is on war and drinking, the poetry. And the warrior king is forever indulging in his favorite toddy made from palm, baua, flowers, and other fruits. It is regularly drunk before the battle. You know, he is the verse, is the poetry number 292 in that thing. And even I know that before some of the attacks which we did during our time, I didn't participate in any war as such. But, you know, people did drink and then they went for attack. But a great poem was written called Mother. Mother has a special place in the entire remembrance and the poetry when it comes to the war. Vande Mataram and, you know, Motherland, and what Maria Jalil has written in her new book called Dying for Your Country. It is a book on Pakistan, you know, where mother comes in the end, and there is a narrative built around that. But that narrative is old. That is why people are using it a bit politically also. So this poem goes like, this is a Tamil poem. The old woman's shoulders were dry, unfleshed, with outstanding veins. Her low belly was like a lotus pond. This is just the beginning. When people said her son had taken fright, had turned her back on the battle and died, she raged and shouted. If he really broke down in the thick of the battle, I shall slash the very breast which gave him the suck. And she took out her sword and went to the battlefield, turning over the body of fallen after fallen. She rummaged through the red field till she found her son. And she rejoiced more on the day she gave him the birth because he had fought and died valiantly. So, you know, there is a thing about mother. So, then we come on to the times of Ala Udal, the great poetry which used to excite us, you know. It was all written in Khadi Boli or Awadhi or Braj Bhasha, you know, and very interesting. And he says, khat, 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 tega, baje, bole, chapak, chapak, talwar. So you can imagine how the war is being fought by Ala Udal, the great general. And then came the Bhushan, who was in the Darbar of Shivaji and somebody else. And Bhushan wrote tons and tons of verses for Shivaji. And I read out only one earlier one, you know, Unche Ghor Mandar ke andar. But you read his poetry, you can make out that Shivaji and his army are moving and the earth is shaking. But the language is Khadi Boli, it is very difficult, you know. And we moved on to great Subhadra Kumari Chauhan, who wrote about Rani Jhansi, and then we understood what 1857 was. Khoob ladi Mardani, wo to Jhansi wali Rani thi. But you read every line of this poetry, you will understand the deeper meaning. Because she says, Dur Firangi ko karne ki sabne man mein thani thi. You know, from that is where it all started. So there is a great messaging here. And in between, you know, Chetak came, that great Ghoda who would run Sarpat with Maharana Pratap. And there's a poetry on him also by Shyam Narayan Paide. जो तनिक हवा में बाग हिली लेकर सवार उड़ जाता था राणा की पुतली फिरी नहीं चेतक तब तक मुड़ जाता था बहरी समाज रह गया रंग घोड़े का ऐसा देख रंग. So animals also have a great you know place in the war. Even today you find their mules and their dogs and their poetry is on them. And one of the greatest poets was Chandra Bardai. And if you take your mind back to Ghazna when Prithvi Raj was taken prison and he was blinded, and then when he shot, he killed Gauri with his arrow, it was based on this poem. Char baans chaupis gaj, angul asht praman, ta upar hai sultan mat chukcho chahan. So through the poetry, he gave a message. And the great fighter he was, he shot Gauri. So without poetry, we would know. And that is history. So now I come to a bit later time, you know, let's say the time of Kipling. Of course, one of the great poems coming out of the Barrack Room Ballads is the Ganga Deen, and on which a movie has been made, songs have been made. It was recited in our schools when we were young. And Ganga Deen was supposed to be a better man than the white man, a true sign of colonialism. But I will talk about a poem called Danny Deever, because it is related to today's environment. Just last week we heard that there was a Rajouri labor case in the valley and army has taken over the case. You know, so sometimes people go astray and do wrong things. So the date was 10th January 1887. Time was 8:15. Private Flaxman of 2nd Leicestershire Battalion was to be hanged in Lucknow because he had shot his compatriot in the barracks. The night before, as per some book called The Blackjack, 3 people were throwing dice as to who is going to shoot him. but actually he was hanged. And then the early morning, every battalion was woken up and they were marched in. And to the sound of Handel playing Death March of Soul, and the bugles were played. And then Kipling ended up writing this poem a few years later. And it was appreciated so much back in England, but they say technically a great poem, but it is grotesque. You know, who wants to hear about it? But I won't read the poem. Maybe somebody may like to read it on his own free time. Jangnama has been a great way of writing history as well as the poem. But one of the great Jangnamas written was Jangnama Europe by Havaldar Nand Singh, who wrote it for World War I. Hundreds of pages. And he completed on 7 November 1919. But I will read something which is very relevant today. Because today we are reeling under COVID, and thankfully the vaccine has come and we are upbeat. So he says, with the telegraphs of armistice, Nemesis had changed its face. The deadly fever spread. It takes life faster than the bullet's pace. So that was the end of World War I. And the great Jangnama, it's a real good historical account. But without Indians being World War, no poetry can be completed. And they were not siding with us when it came to recognizing it. But great Sarojini Naidu wrote this poem called The Gift to India. And she reminded them that the day the war is over and everything is done, remember the blood of my martyred sons. So that is how that poem goes. And then we moved on to World War II, and there was the freedom movement, and there were some great songs written by Pradeep and by ABCD, like Kadam Kadam Badhaye Ja, and you could Raja Mehndi Ali Khan writing Shaheed, and Dilip Kumar singing in that movie, you know, Watan ki raah mein Watan ke naujawan shaheed ho. So as kids, we would also be ready ki chalo shaheed ho jate hain. But that was the power. So one great song came in the movie called Kismat, written again by Pradeep, who later on wrote Ae Mere Watan Ke Logo. So this was a song in which he inserted कि Germany के नीचे भी हम नहीं झुकेंगे, Japan के नीचे नहीं झुकेंगे. And he made that great song. हाँ, तुम ना किसी के नीचे झुकना, चाहे जर्मन हो या जापान. हाँ. So this song, because it was inserted in between, is past the censors. And the movie got released. And certainly started making waves in the public in 1943. Then the British realized there is some Hindi written there which is moving people. So they put whole lot of CID behind him. आजकल भी लगा देते हैं वैसे कुछ लोगों के पीछे. ऐसी कोई बड़ी बात नहीं है. But that is what they did. And anyway, Pradeep wrote some great songs. So with that, I come to the end of the second part.
That's really interesting, sir. I recall us talking about Dr. Bhupen Hazarika as well. And what's interesting is how poets come to be seen as such powerful voices that even powerful leaders or governments can be afraid of them. It would be very nice if you talk to us a little bit more about, post-independence India, in particular about the 1971 war, Bangladesh's liberation war before that, the stories you were telling me about Dr. Bhupen Hazarika. And essentially, if you could talk about, when it comes to war poetry, in your opinion, is it the poetry of the victorious that is more powerful, or is it the poetry of the vanquished? I wonder what you think.
Okay. Actually, that is where our story begins, because we got independence in 47. And in 3 months, we had gone into war. It is astonishing to find that there is no real poetry in 47-48 war. But I found one by the great Harivansh Rai Bachchan, apart from writing Madhushala, you know. So in English, he wrote in Hindi, but what he said was, well-prepared enemy has attacked the country. The free country teach this enemy a lesson. Put all your strength in this war. Make a new tradition of valor. This is the first test of the independent country. Measure up, measure up, measure up. And we did measure up. Till sometime in mid-1948, breaks were put. And the poetry was forgotten. And the politics came in. And we are still fighting for the balance part of it. And it was there lying for taking. Another month we would have done it. So, 62 was the war where the poetry exploded. And it was a war where we were pushed in without preparation, and it was a tragedy as well as an awakening. So the thing started on 20th October, and within 3 days, hundreds had died. So Harji Malik wrote a great English poem, and within 4th day, it was read out in the parliament by Mr. Sinha, who was MP, while Harji Malik and Brigadier Prem Bhagat were sitting in the balconies of parliament listening to it. And it sent shocking waves and possibly led to sacking of Menon also. Because when something is said in parliament or Lok Sabha, it has a big meaning. So she, on the 4th day of the battle, she's writing, as the brutal rock shatters the placid glass into the 1,000 irreparable fragments, the bitter grief is hurled at normalcy and peace. Never will they be quite complete again. We are still fighting. The sense of shame, of betrayal unforgivable, never to be redeemed, of sacrifice avoidable. That is the guilt we share. We were your soldiers, men of bravery and pride, yet we died like animals trapped in a cage with no escape, massacred at will, denied the dignity of the battle. We were pushed into a no battle zone. You could not fight it there. And then she says, kindly, you will have to take the revenge. You can't just sit back like that. And by the time the war was ending, this is October, 21st November, war ended. Great Dr. Bhupen Hazarika, who was a journalist come a radio artist working for Guwahati, All India Radio, which had just been started, was coming back from Bomdila after listening to after seeing the tragedy. So he drove, his eyes were red, whole Assam was waiting, because Assam had only All India Radio, Assami language to listen. Tejpur was being deserted, everybody was anxious. So he came and he had worked out this poetry same day, Koto Jawan Mrityu. How many men have died, And I'm paying tribute to them through my tears. It's a very moving poem read out in the local language. So he read it out. Next day he came back. Whole Assam was again waiting, thinking Chinese will come and overtake them. So what were they holding on? They were holding on to his poem, and he had composed and he sang this great song. So kindly listen to it sometime. It is really shaking and it tells you the story, what happened. Only Dr. Bhupen Hazarika could do it. But the story of 62 was not over. We were yet moving into the month of December, and the great national poet called Ramdhari Singh Dinkar took 20 days to write his Parashuram Ki Pratiksha. He was furious. And on 28 December, he recited in All India Radio. He was told to cut off a line. He said, I will not cut off the line because 50 years hence, people are going to ask me that this poem was written in such a mode, but They will remember me because I wrote it, I spoke the truth. And we are there on the Galwan facing the same enemy. So it's a very, so he was scathing on the politics of it. He said, घातक है जो देवता सदृश दिखाता है, लेकिन कमरे में गलत हुक्म लिखाता है. This is what had happened. Wrong orders were being passed from sitting behind. जिस पापी को गुड़ नहीं गोत्र प्यारा है, समझो उसने ही हमें यहां मारा है. जो सत्य जानकर भी सत्य नहीं कहता, या किसी लोभ के विवश से मूक रहता. So that was the mood. But come January, nation needed a closure. Enough of mudslinging had gone on. So the great articulate Prime Minister said, let's get Bollywood to Delhi and do a program, which they did on 27th. And late Kavi Pradeep, actually Mr. Dwivedi, his name was, he wrote that greatest song ever, Ae Mere Watan Ke Logo. How he wrote it, sitting on chapati on the cigarette foil, built it up, how Lata Mangeshkar was roped in and how it was played, and it bound the whole India, and there was a sense of closure, there was a sense of integrity, there was a sense of, gone homey, koi Sikh, koi Jat Maratha. There was a value coming out of soldiers. Jab tak wo jaan thi, wo lade, phir gir gaye. And while celebrating Diwali, kindly remember. So it became a great song, and it had a great meaning. But a copyright, he donated all the money to the war widows. But HMV did not pay that money. Later on, it went to the court case, and court said, kindly give this money to the War Widows Association or for their welfare. So in 50 years later, this money was given. So that is a new beginning for India, this song, I would say. We are running short of time, but anyway. The greatest thing which happened in 1971 was the Bangladesh. The liberation war, as well as the tragedy of Bangladesh, overpowered actually the war. So nothing was written in India about the war. But Bangladesh side, there is so much of poetry has come out. But it began even before the war started, because when the great poem called September Road to Jessore was written, which is sung also by Maushami Bhaumik, translated into Bengali. It is so powerful. It told the people of the West what is happening, while Americans were supporting Pakistan and they were saying war should not take place. So it had a message. And immediately after that, Ravi Shankar and George Harrison organized that one of the greatest concerts at the Madison Park Gardens, called Bangladesh. And a Bangladesh song was written, and so many songs were written. A film was made, and till today, tens of millions of dollars of that concert, they have been given to Bangladesh. So that was the story. I will just share the story, how it is dear to the, this is in Bangladesh Museum, Liberation Museum. A lady is touching the concert. Here is the crowd in Madison Square. Here is 1 month later in London, at the Oval. And here is the great Bob Dylan and Harrison singing. So it sent the message to everybody. But you asked me, no poetry in India. It was astonishing that no poetry. I came across one poetry on Meghna written by General Kalyan Verma. And he's saying, Meghna, why are you flowing quiet? Why are you not telling the stories of the valor of the Indian forces? Actually, story should have been told by those who saw the war. Bangladeshis wrote about their war. We did not write. Maybe there was a cue, because a message came from the government through army: you shall not make memorials. You are winning a war, but you shall not make memorials. So it was a high politics. And then the whole India went dead for so many years. And no memorial, no song, no poetry. Till the time J.P. Datta started to make Border, and he came with those great songs called Sandeshe Aate Hain and Mere Dushman Mere Bhai. Javed Akhtar put the stamp. And 1 year before the movie was released, the movie was being shot. We were there in the desert. So he gave the cassette to my regiment, gave me the feedback. And we would tell them, look, people are going crazy because the song of Sandeshe Aate is all about separation and the mother and the family and the border. And every Jawan was loving it. So anyway, it moved on. So the poetry mood of the nation changed. Immediately Kargil war came. And the mood of the nation became that of, we must work as a team, we must defeat the enemy, and there was a lot of positivity. So you had songs like कंधों से मिलते हैं कंधे, कंधों से कदम मिलते हैं, हम चलते हैं ऐसे तो दुश्मन के दिल हिलते हैं, जो भी हो शोला बनकर पत्थर है पिघलाना. Again who? The great Javed Akhtar. And he turns and he says, मेरे दुश्मन मेरे भाई, ये पत्थर भी कुछ कहते हैं, जिंदगी बरसों तलक रोती है. So he was writing war and anti-war both at the same time in the same movie. That is how it moved on. And now we heard Kesari, Teri Mitti. Everybody has heard that great song, which has now become the song of the COVID doctors and of the Galwan also. But here there is a shift. Sacrifice is becoming mood of the nation. That is a very interesting point. While 62 में गुहार थी, please go and remember. Now he is saying, I don't mind sacrificing myself. So this is a new narrative which is coming. Teri Mitti, although just a moot point that this battle was fought in somewhere in the northwest province. It had nothing to do with the Mitti. But when the movie is made, you mix up the things. What a great song. So that is how the mood has really changed. And then day before was Galwan ke Sher. क्या कमी है तुझको लालों की सरहद पर रखवालों की, सर रख पर तेरी गोद में जब आग खुली मतवालों की, जहां अजमत पर तेरी आंच आई, and so on it goes on. So it has already picked up so much of traction in the YouTube and everywhere. So there is an ITPP version also. Somewhere there is a usage of this poetry which is coming. When the Balakot was done in 27, the Air Force went and struck at those camps. Next day, the Twitter handle of the ADGPI Army tweeted Dinkar and send a message to Pakistan through poetry. So that was a big thing which was happening. And with that, I come to that part of it, to finish that part.
Right. Sorry to interrupt you, sir. We're quickly running out of time. So we are going to open up questions to the audience soon. If you have any questions, please, can I request you to just leave it in your chat box and we'll ask Major General Singh whatever question you have. Meanwhile, sir, I wanted to ask you, so much poetry war poetry dwells on the idea of martyrdom, on being shaheed. आप बता रहे थे कि आप कैसे शहीद होने के लिए तैयार थे और चले गए आर्मी ज्वाइन करने के लिए. So sir, this idea of martyrdom, ये शहीद होने का idea, is it overrated? Because at the end of the day, war is about loss and death and bereavement. I know you have some poetry of your own that you'd like to read. So if you could.
Yeah, I'll come to that a bit. I'll say that, Actually, there are three parties. One is the soldier and the enemy and the soldier's family. And rest are राम झरो के बैठ के सबका मुजरा ले, जो हम दूर से देख रहे हैं. So a lot of poetry is written for others, So when you write a poetry based on Shaheed, so it is basically meant for the audience, but they have a feeling. But somewhere I would like to bring in quickly, very quickly, the poetry of the conflict which is happening in India, because war is happening in Manipur, Nagaland, in Kashmir, in the Red Belt. So everyone has his own thing. So there's a great poetry written on the Khomjong War of Manipur. You must read it, to understand what the war was like. They made a great memorial over there. Then was this year in February, last year, Army and Assam Rifle went and made a memorial in Mokokchung, center of Nagaland. You don't make memorials for what you call insurgency, where your own people are fighting, because it has hurt the feeling of Naga people so much. They have already been through it, And yesterday we had the great poetess from Nagaland, and she says so much about it. So people are charged up, and they've expressed it through poetry. You go to Manipur, you find that their poetry shows that they can't get up, and there is a knock on the door. There is corruption. Somebody will come and extort money. But there is a gentleman called Kabui. He says, let all of us leave the old and bad thoughts, and let us create a new society for the future destiny of the growing youth with the equal and right steps. You have to make a beginning, but you can't forget what wrongs have been done. And
Sir, I know you wanted to read a poem by Eastereen Keir. She's with us in
one line. Body is a map. Body is a map. It remembers every abuse. It remembers every caress, or whatever way you pronounce it. It goes on like that. You remember. So read it, and read her first poetry written, the whole long poetry, which will tell you what was happening in Nagaland in 1982. And then coming to the left wing, the great Varvara Rao, who is in the jail, he says, I did not supply the explosive, nor ideas for that matter. But there is a voice of the people. He is communicating that. And just last few days back, the Gabriel Rosen from some Nordic country sent him a poem, and the flowers, simple roses to perfume, your cell. And beyond that it goes, and it can be a very, very hard hitting. But without Kashmir, today, we cannot, we have to talk about it. There is a war side of it, there is a conflict side of it, there is a Pak side of it, but there is a people side of it, and people matter. So you have great laments and poems from Athar Zia, and she has written recently a trilogy, The Margins. You read it, you have to read it. Either you're a soldier or civilian, you have to read it to understand why this problem is not going away for so many years. The curfewed state. Zarif Ahmad Zarif wrote, my gaze has been silenced. And there is a new website called the Kashmiri Tales. Zishan Jaipuri has launched it in 2019. And during the time, like Maja House is so thriving, during the times of COVID, that thing is also picked up. And there's some great poems, including one called The Burials. So maybe the rhetoric itself is buried. So it's so very important. Now I will come to my last part, which you asked me.
Yes.
I have said a lot, whatever I wanted to say, but I'll wind up with 3 poems. One I wrote when I found this Shaheed and martyrdom thing is going too far. Okay. So a few years back, so you found that airport people are, standing in line. It was not good. Secondly, there is a 7 December Armed Forces, day. But it has become a tick mark in the life of India. That is not on. You have to respect people if you have announced a day for them. So, कहने को तो मैं शहीद हूं, पर तुम्हारे लिए अब मैं कोई नहीं हूं. एक गोली लगी थी तो मर गया था, अगर बगल से निकल जाती तो बच गया था। मैंने भी मारे थे 2 खूंखार हत्यारे, वरना वो कत्ल कर देते कितने हमारे। एक माँ थी एक महबूबा, 2 बच्चे हमारे, अब वो यतीम हो गए हैं बेचारे। सारे सपने भी शहीद हो गए हैं हमारे, लेकिन हम जान दे गए लिए तुम्हारे। ना कोई देखभाल ना कोई जलसा, किसी को कोई गम नहीं, किसी को नहीं कोई शिकवा। यही लिखा था हमारी किस्मत में एक अंतरा, कभी दिल में हुंकार लगे तो आना, मेरे नाम का दिया जला जाना, मेरे परिवार को दिलासा दे जाना और देश का झंडा फहरा जाना। चलते चलते यूं ही बस एक दिन जान दे दी थी, बस यूं ही एक वर्दी की लाज रख ली थी। So, there is a civil side, there is an army side. Unless we resolve this problem with compassion, we will not move ahead. I am saying it with the full conviction, and people must listen to that. Coming back to Chham, from where we started, I read a news clip, we want our Chham back. This was a voice coming from 20,000 people of Chham. They were part of our nation from 1947 till 1971. But their lands were given away during Shimla Agreement without asking them. That cold-blooded signature on the Shimla Agreement. How can you do that? 20,000 people you don't ask give away that land. Don't they have a motherland of their own? You just give them 3 acres of land in some corner. So I read that news. I said, is it legitimate to raise such a demand? I said, why not? That agreement was wrong. They could have easily kept the Chham with us. Nowhere in India a land has been given to anyone where people live. If it has been given, it is in some valley in Galwan where people don't live. If 20 million people of Bangladesh can go back and get their home, why not 20,000? Are we lesser or are we too peripheral? So I said, bravado aside, the demand is genuine. I'm not saying get it through war, but demand is genuine, the feeling is genuine. May I request if those photographs can be shown of the actual photographs of the Chham while I read out this poem. Chham ki abhilasha, temple bells are still silent. I long for my Chham. मेरा भी एक गांव था, मेरा भी एक देश था, एक कलकल करती नदी, कई झरने, एक नीला आसमान. I loved the rising sun when it hit the Pagla Mandyala ridge. I loved the setting sun when it highlighted the Trikuta hills where Vaishno Devi is located. दाने चुगते तीतर, नाचते मोर, भागते मुर्गे, रात को गीदड़ की चीखे और वाइल्ड बोर का गुरगुराना, मंदिर में बजते नगाड़े और घंटियां, बरसाला का स्कूल और लड़के लड़कियां, लहलहाते खेत और भरपूर खलिहान, मनव्वर में बहते पानी के गान. दिन को आज भी देती है दुहाई, फिर क्यों दे दिया मेरा Chham बार बार, मेरे दिल को क्यों कर दिया तार तार. Where is my motherland? Where is my belonging? But you are still numb. Why not understand my need, you dumb? I am not giving up on my longing. मैं चाहता हूं कि मंदिरों में फिर से घंटियां बजे और मेरे बच्चे Chham में फूले फले. सैकड़ों की जान गंवा दी थी Chham की खातिर, कुछ लाज रख लो उनकी भी है मालिक, हमारे लिए भी कर लो कुछ तो हासिल, बहुत तंग कर गया है वो तो शातिर. Chham की लालसा अमर है, Chham की चाहत जटल है, Chham की तृष्णा कटर है, Chham की अभिलाषा कब होगी पूरी, हम कब करेंगे कम ये दूरी. I still long for my Chham. People, so with that I finish. And I will pay a tribute to those, I can come back on the, I finish with a tribute to those who are still deployed at Galwan. You see, coming month is the great festival of Basant. Even Maja House is having a Basant festival. We are going to be donning our kesari and orange and greens and yellows. But we should not forget that people are sitting there, thousands of them at minus 40 degrees. And this is nothing new. So how they will be celebrating their Diwali, Holi or Basant? So there should be some balance there. So Subhadra Kumari Chauhan, who unfortunately died at a young age in 1948, she was a member of parliament. So she wrote that time, आ रही है हिमालय से पुकार, है उदती का रिश्ता बार बार, प्राची पश्चिम भू नभ अपार, सब पूछ रहे हैं दिग दिगंत वीरों का कैसा हो वसंत. How will they be celebrating? भर रही कोकिला इधर तान, मारू बजे पर उधर गान, they are ready for the war. है रंग और रण का यही विधान, मिलने आए हैं आदि अंत, वीरों का कैसा हो वसंत. Then she coaxes everybody. राणा सांगा पर कर घमंड, दो जगह आश्रमतियां जलंद, वीरों का कैसा हो वसंत. I come to an end. I have only one message to say. Peace is most important. And people are important. War comes and go, bravery, bravado, and everything goes on. That is for the soldiers themselves. First people, and then your sovereignty. So whoever dies in the border or serve there, people must, back it up, whichever way they can. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, sir. That was really thought-provoking. We are out of time, but I don't want to close the session without taking at least one question from the audience. We have some wonderful questions. There's one from Padmini Mongia, which I'll read out for you. She says, it's interesting that war poetry in India seems integrated into the story of film in India, even though we have such rich traditions of poetic expression which are shared communally. One answer might lie in the grip that cinema extended, but I wonder if the wars post 1947 were difficult to render in poetry because so many were internal battles without clear winners and losers. Just a thought. I wonder what you think about what she points out, Major General Singh.
You see, poetry comes from the people and from the artists. 47-48 war, the nation was far away. It was between the decision makers and the army, and it was going on. There were some newspapers, but who read it? But in 62, things were different. We lost that war, but the best poetry came out of that time. Undoubtedly the best poetry, the best song. You hear the Hakikat songs. And that Kaifi Azmi he wrote, And that song is now repeated in different ways. Even latest song is based on the same theory, Kar Chale Hum Fida Jana Tan Sathiyon, or whenever the song on the separation with his beloved. But in India, there is also a politics, which I talked about in 1971. I mean, we must promote the poetry through the films and through other ways. There is some suppression, especially when it comes down to the peripheral areas. But their poetry actually is very powerful. It doesn't come so much to the mainstream. It comes to people like you or me or some other people. It doesn't reach the people as such. So I guess we have miles to go ahead before we achieve true integration. But if these poems are translated, they are shared, and there is a promotion, then people will develop more better feelings. And we ought to make some more films apart from the war films, where things are very serious as far as our security and as far as people are concerned. People are what is important. Borders are irrelevant, they say, but we have to abide by those borders. And right now, they are burning. More or less.
Okay. Thank you for that, sir. Mr. Rana Chinna, who leads the Center for Armed Forces Historical Research at the United Service Institution, is also with us. And he says, poetry is deeply rooted in Indian culture, and war and conflict, loss and longing are intertwined. In the Punjab, the Var was a popular way of reciting oral history and enshrining both ideals of valor and the poignancy of loss. I wonder what you think about that, sir.
He is my guide,
I know.
And I am so happy he is there. You know, people did not allow our poetry to come up. If it was written, it was destroyed. So it has all happened through oral history, and then the Punjab uh, mm, uh, uh, wars and battles and the history has been recorded through Jangnama and Diwar. And it's so very important. There was a session on it in the Military Literature Festival, which was held in uh, Chandigarh 3-4 years back. In fact, I had suggested you bring in the Punjabi language chapter. So war is there, and also there is the poetry of conflict, which I heard from Bant Singh when I went to his village, and I met him, and he recited to me, "Raj nu pistol dilwa de," give me a pistol so that I can protect myself in my Dahej. Oral poetry and recording of history is so important. We actually read history from the prose. History has to be read from poetry, actually Indian history, because otherwise a lot of book history, but a lot of books are coming out based on these books. That great book by Rakshanda, in which Chinna has also, young Chinna has also talked about. So I'm so happy Sir is there.
So thank you so much for giving us a small glimpse into what I know is a very vast body of research. It was very thought-provoking, as I said earlier, and listening to some of those beautiful poems was great. To the audience, thank you so much for joining us. Arvinder has shared some links with all of you, which are the clips that we wanted to play this evening. I highly encourage you to listen to some of these very moving verses read by people like Sir Lawrence Oliver and Helen Mirren. I know Maja House has some announcements to make, so I'd like to hand this session over to Professor Gurpratap now. And thank you so much, Major General Singh. That was fascinating. We're waiting for your book.
Thank you so much, Mandakini. And before I start thanking Sir also, I would like to try the Lawrence Oliver video once again. Maybe we can play it before I conclude the session today. Let me give it a shot.
It's a good weight.
It looks difficult.
Yeah.
I think there is some technical error with all the three videos. I'm so sorry that they are visible on our links. They are, they're audible, but then there is some problem. So I've just shared all the links, and Mandakini, I would request there's a comment from Sanjay Hazarika, which he wants you to read that, please.
I just saw it. Sanjay Hazarika is with us, and he says, he shared a link, sir, which I will send to you shortly, of a song. And he says, the general surely knows that Bhupen Hazarika wrote this very powerful, moving, anthemic song of Bangladesh. Forgive my Bengali pronunciation. Joy Joy Nabo Jota Bangladesh, Joy Joy Mukti Bahini. Virtually all Bangladeshis know this song. He was honored with the highest civilian award of Bangladesh. So are you aware of this song? And I wonder what you think of it.
Actually, I'm not actually aware of this song. I'm so grateful that he has shared it. And I researched a lot of songs on the Bangladesh war. But you know, somewhere I missed it. And it is not, I don't know.
I'm sending it to you, sir. So this can, you know.
Thank you, Sanjay. And dear friend of my friend, General Bardoloi.
Yeah, Gupta, please.
Ji, this was indeed a wonderful program. Poetry is not something that we immediately associate with war. When we talk about war, what comes to mind immediately is ravage and destruction. A nebulous artwork like poetry seems far away from smoky battlegrounds. But today's session goes to show how art and creativity can be found lurking in the most unusual of places. Poets like Wilfred Evan, Robert Southey, and our own beloved poets like Javed Akhtar and Kafi Azmi have written about the futility of war. Today's session also highlights the resilience of the human spirit, of how the human spirit is undaunted and remains fearless even under fire. On behalf of Maja House, I thank Major General Hemant Kumar Singh and Mandakini Gehlot for bringing us all these beautiful poems, and together we salute the human spirit. And before I conclude for the day, I would also like to announce and share with you, our next program is on Tuesday. It's on Sanja Punjab, and we're talking about the beloved poet Nasir Kazmi. So you will get the link and do join us. And I thank all of you for joining us today. And thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and good night. God bless.